Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the fourth Ashes test match, I should say. Very excited for this one. We do see the series currently sitting 2-1 in favour of the Australians, and with some bad weather just around the corner. Unfortunately, the last 2 days of this test match seem unlikely. The question is, how quickly will England look to score throughout this contest? They do have to try and bowl Australia out first, though. That is the first task. Australia, they did lose the toss once again in this Ashes series, find themselves with the bat in hand. And one man who was a questionable option for the Australians, David Warner, he is still in the side. Instead, they ditch their spinner, Todd Murphy, for the first time in over a decade. Australia not having a main spinner in their squad or a test match. Come on, England, says Distracted Sports there. At the moment, England, they've got 4 slips. No Gully at the moment, but surprisingly, Bairstow's still there. I know that he was another one that some people were feeling maybe he could have been the man to get taken out of their side. They've got Moeen batting 3, which I'm very curious to see how he does end up going. But Stuart Broad, he will have the first over of this test match. Charge it in now at Old Trafford. The first delivery, it's out wide, and David Warner chases after it. First ball of this test match, going for 4, decides to go quite attacking out through that cover region. A bit too short from Stuart Broad, maybe trying to test out Warner to see if he was going to be willing to play, and he was. Went for the shot out wide. Like they've said, a loosener from Stuart Broad, but great intent by David Warner. Looking to score. Like a new bat for David Warner. He's actually got the pink and the blue stickers on this one compared to the normal. I believe he normally has orange, if I'm not wrong, which is some irrelevant information, isn't it? He's changed the color of his stickers. Does not mean that he's changed the bat, though. He's solid behind that one, David Warner. Nicely played. Australia will win for sure, says Abisa, or Abiska. Hopefully I said that correctly. And Owen Tent says Distracted Sports and Koi Bill. Bill, almost coin big, isn't it? So come on, you boys in white. Which one's you going for in that case, Joseph? If they're both wearing the white. Last one, how much do you think England will have to restrict Australia to make a big lead? Well, it's very hard to say in this test match because at the end of the day, we might only get 3 of them. Speaking of the days, it looks like it's going to be relatively nice for this day of the test match. A little bit full from Stuart Broad, whipped to the leg side, down to Moeen at fine leg. And they will take yet again another single. But yeah, if we have 2 completely washed out days, it's going to mean that pretty much you have to restrict Australia, not so much based on their runs, but maybe more based on the amount of time that it takes to bowl the Australians out. Because if it takes any more than 100 overs to get this Aussie team out the first time, it's going to be very tricky to be able to chase down the runs, set your own as well in the amount of time remaining. So I would say if they can bowl them out before they get to the new ball, that is, of course, hugely ideal for the English in a test match to save the Ashes series. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The weather's going to play a huge part in this match. And I hope it's going to behave itself. Outside of off stump, left alone by Usman Khawaja, the first delivery he faced off the 4th test, and maybe 300, says Abiska. And sup, says Amelia, welcome in. And go you shackle draggers, says Joseph in there. I see. But I don't think England will be able to restrict below 300. It's going to be tricky. Although they've got Mark Wood, who seems to be a little bit more of a, I want to call him a super sub, but I feel like he wasn't really a sub in some regards because they were just rotating their squad. But he was a super addition to their side in the last test match. Chris Wokes, he actually, I believe, has kept his spot in this test match. Ollie Robinson, the player that they've taken out, but they've kept Broad in. They've brought Jimmy Anderson back. And like I mentioned earlier on, Moeen actually playing the role of Ollie Pope, batting 3 in this test match. So I'm curious to see if that tactic works out for the English. It didn't quite the last time that they did go with it, but he's a fantastic batsman. So if he can get himself in, he might be able to get a few early runs on the board for the English. But, I mean, it might not be today that we get to see Moeen batting. Once again, David Warner advancing a little bit to Stuart Broad. lock that one out. Into the over, 6 for none. An aggressive first over for Australia when it comes to the scoring, although that first boundary from David Warner certainly helped that. Looks like a good surface at the moment at Old Trafford. With the amount of rain that's been around, they're probably lucky that it is as dry as it is. I believe I heard that it's been raining about 4 days in a row before this test match. Luckily, the first day seems like we're not going to get any rain, although there are still a few dark clouds around. Now, Jimmy Anderson coming into the bowling attack. What is something like surprise package for the Aussies? They might not have prepared for Wood, but I hope this time they are well prepared. And the thing is, with someone who bowls that 150 Ks plus, it's easy enough to think that you're prepared for it, but that little split second less that you get to react is that split second where he picks up a lot of his wickets when the batsman is indecisive, trying to decide whether or not they're going forward or back. And that little tiny moment that you have, if you don't get it right, he's shown in that last test match he knows how to pick up the wicket when it's available. But now Jimmy Anderson, a man who hasn't picked up a huge amount of wickets throughout this Ashes series as of yet, but first ball looked like it wasn't too bad. Little bit of away swing to the left-hander Usman Khawaja. 11th test match on the home ground, they've just mentioned, so they had to have him in there somewhere, Jimmy Anderson. Even out of form, this is the ground that he has been able to really create some magical moments throughout his long, illustrious career. England, they won the toss once again. I believe they've won the last two, if not maybe even the last three. If I'm not wrong, Australia not really getting the rub of the rub of the coin flip, I guess you could call it. This pitch will suit Jimmy, says Al Poundo. Yeah, 11 matches at Old Trafford, 37 wickets. So best is 4 for 38, but has yet to get a 5-wicket haul at his home ground. So if there was ever a series and an important match to do it in, it's this one. Currently, they find themselves 2-1 down in the overall series, but after that very good win last time in the third, they had some good carry through, actually went through to Bairstow's head to take that one above. This pitch, it's going to be an exciting one to watch on. They're talking about not a lot of live grass on it, so I would say a little bit later on in the test match, we might get to see a little bit more spin, which maybe is why England also opted to have themselves batting second and fourth, because Australia not going with their spinner. This one, ditching Todd Murphy. They've still got Travis Head, Steve Smith, and Marnus Labuschagne, who can all do a little bit of spin if needed. Can you read the playing 11 of England? I will actually get both sides up because both sides making a few changes, but England, I believe the only real big change in this game was Ollie Robinson. He has been left out and Jimmy Anderson comes in, but the playing 11 for the English, it is Ben Duckett and Zach Crawley once again opening. Moeen Ali batting 3, which is the intriguing one. We saw him do it in the second innings of the last test match. They have decided to go with that again. Joe Root at 4, Harry Brook at 5, Ben Stokes somehow still playing, even though he's got about 15 injuries all listed down, whether it's his knee, his back, his groin, his butt cheek at one stage was sore. He's still playing, Ben Stokes. He can certainly have an impact. Johnny Bairstow keeps his spot batting at number 7 plus wicket keeping. Chris Wokes, Mark Wood, the two who were added in last week, and then also Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson, two experienced veterans as the 10 and 11. Another leave there from Usman Khawaja into the second over. And it is a maiden this time from Jimmy Anderson, 6 for none. For Australia, they have gone David Warner, Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh. After the century last week, it was going to be very hard to take him out of the side, which means that with the Cam Green return, they actually take out Todd Murphy. Alex Carey keeps his spot as the keeper, and he will actually be batting 8, probably one of the lower numbers we have seen him bat throughout his career. Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, the skipper, batting 10, and Josh Hazlewood comes in to replace Scott Boland, who hasn't quite found his feet throughout this Ashes series so far. So, yeah, a little bit of a change for both sides. The main addition for England, of course, is Jimmy Anderson coming back in. For the Australians, they kept Warner in, they brought Cam Green back, and then they get rid of Todd Murphy, and then Josh Hazlewood coming back in. A nice quick single taken from David Warner. He moves up to 6 runs off 5 deliveries, being relatively aggressive early on in his innings. And I mean, strategically for Australia, they want to get themselves, of course, a lot of runs on the board, and they still want to find a way of being 3-1 up going into that final Ashes test match. Because if they end up with the draw here, yes, they do retain the Ashes. They want to win it rather than just winning it with a drawn series, which is a possibility. If they do draw this test match with the English, if England were to take out test match number 5, instead they'd love to be 3-1 up, have it in the cabinet already, and then go into that last test match with the trophy firmly in their grasp. Watching from Nepal, says Abhiskar. What time is it in Nepal at the moment? Do let me know. I always struggle with some time zones, I will be honest. I've only just managed to get the hang of England, but that is due to the Ashes series. But yeah, normally I'm not too flash with anywhere else other than the UK, South Africa. Oh, that's at the pad. Jimmy Anderson. Oh, in fact, no, sorry, Stuart Broad likes it, but I believe it's going down leg, also seaming maybe a little bit further down the leg side. Ed Stokes doesn't look too interested in going upstairs with that one. It's 3:55 p.m. 3:55. So that would be on the 19th. I assume you guys are sitting on Wednesday as well. If I'm not wrong, yeah, that one was missing leg stump, also maybe a little bit high as well. Now Kawaji sitting on 1 off 10. He's been able to score quite a few runs throughout this Ashes series, but he has scored them relatively slowly a majority of the time for Usman Khawaja. Ball 128 Ks from Stuart Broad, still starting to wind up, going round the wicket rather than over Usman Khawaja. Even though Usman Khawaja in England, the record is actually a lot worse when it comes to a man going over the wicket to him. Just with that angle across, creating the opportunity for the slips. Stuart Broad has gone for the single so far throughout this over. 2 balls remaining to Usman Khawaja. One was wide. Not quite wide enough to be called as a wide, but not quite where Broad would have liked it either, I wouldn't be thinking. And straight away, he's looking down at the pitch. The foot marks, they will be very prominent throughout the later stages of this test, though, I think, if we get a day 4 and 5. That's the big one. But Stuart Broad, in every innings throughout the Ashes series, he has taken at least 1 wicket. His best was 4 for 65 at Lords. His worst was 1 for 99 at Lords. So he made quite a nice comeback from that first innings to the second of the second test match. Final ball, pitched up, could carry through to Bairstow again, but end of the over will be 7 for none. Australia getting the 6 runs off their first over, but then from there slowing down just a tad. This ball seems like it's swinging quite a bit though, so you don't want to get too overzealous in the early stages. Let's hope Broad won't get Warner this time. Can't wait more to see Warner's century. Yeah, I mean, if anyone was going to get that wicket, it is Stuart Broad. He has been able to get David Warner many times in the past little while, but I'd like to think that Warner, it's always the case of any time there's half a chance, England make the most of it. With David Warner's wicket, he hasn't really had a huge amount of luck when it comes to drop catches, because with the amount that we've seen from England throughout this test series, you would think he would have had one or so that has been put down, but instead it's always taken. And I mean, the longer that they can keep Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith from making their way to the middle, the better for the Australians. That looked like there might have been a little tiny bit of breeze there. That's nicely played by Warner, just watching that ball as it starts to seam towards that slip cordon. Little by Moeen Ali at point. Like I said, he is going to be batting 3 in this test match. So a little bit of a change for the English compared to what we saw a bit earlier on for Moeen Ali. He did bat 3 in the second innings of the last test match. Was able to get himself, I think, 6 runs or somewhere around there. David Warner, a good foot outside of the crease, trying to take away that LBW option. Oh, that's off the edge, is it? It's gone through the slip cordon, and it's 4 runs for David Warner. I just said that he needed a little bit of luck. Perhaps that was actually that little bit of luck he needed. I've said that Harry Brook, he didn't quite pick it up here. How sharp. Yeah, well, that's probably that's about a fifth or a sixth slip, I'd say. I don't think there was too much of a chance for Harry Brook, although he didn't really react at all, which makes you wonder what would have happened if it went straight to him. And Yo says, Jacob, welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing well. David Warner, 4 runs for him there. Oh, no, he hasn't played a shot to that one, but I believe it has ended up just hitting him outside of the leg. Is your coverage janky? Yes, it is. I was wondering whether or not it was just my Wi-Fi because I know that my PC's been playing up over the last couple of days. But yeah, for that edge, if it's the same as mine, Tony, you probably didn't get to see it that first time round. And even for the second one, it was a little bit glitchy as well. And back for more says, Jacob, it is great to see you back. It's been 9 days since the last Ashes Test match. Feels like a little while, but back in the swing of things now. Is that an inside edge? Wait, what's that hit? That's it. Okay, that's at Warner's pad. I thought he got an edge on that, and Bairstow was appealing, and then it just smacked into the ground off him. They want to go upstairs by the looks of it here, England. I don't think it's coming back enough. Stokes, he's not going to go upstairs. I thought there was an edge, and Bairstow dropped it, but that's not the case. I don't believe. We might have to see that again, but that ball came back in quite nicely from Jimmy Anderson. Don't get the nickname the Sultan of Swing for not being able to move that ball. Oh, yeah, it's just clipped that back pad. Bairstow, he's dropped it cold, which isn't rare for this Ashes series, unfortunately. It's a nice shot from Warner, just punching it through point. I managed to get back for the 2 runs as well. And same says Jacob and go the Aussie, says Tom Walsh. Come on, Aussie, come on, says Inouye. This one just clipping. Yeah, it was the back pad. Bairstow went straight out of his hands. And impact, yeah, was missing the stump. So a good decision from England not to review that. Yeah, it did sound very thick or very wooden for the top of the pad of David Warner, but does survive. Mentioned he needed luck. Feel like he's had a little bit of it so far, but 13 for none after the 4 overs for the Australian side. Anything 300 plus here is a massive bonus. Anything 400 plus puts them in I'd say 400 to 450 on this pitch with the amount of time that we might see in this test match due to the rain. Anything over 400 almost, I'm going to say it and it might jinx them, puts you in a position to not lose the test match. But that's the statement that's probably going to backfire depending on how it goes later on. And Hamish, what's up, buddy? Do you think bowling first? It's a great decision by England. I think it can haunt them later on. Says Coding. The good news is they might end up seeing rain for the last 2 days, so they won't get that chance to see how much it haunts them. But I believe they want early wickets, just like they'd like in that last test match, and they were able to do that up against the Aussies, getting those couple early ones. Mark Wood, when he comes into the bowling attack, I think he's going to be very dangerous to watch. Chris Wokes, he started to find rhythm after a few early runs and scored off him too. If they can get 3 or 4 wickets in this first session up against Australia, massively beneficial for the English. And Warner hanging in there desperately, says Inouye. And mate, I saw your GoPro cricket footage. Nice innings, dude. Are you better on the offside than the onside? Yep. Always have been, always probably will be. I don't have leg side shots to save myself. I don't know why. I feel like it's because I've always been taught, if it's straight, play the forward defensive, rather than taking the risk. And I've just always been, I feel like I should be playing test match cricket rather than any short form the way that I play, but it didn't go too badly. Bowling innings, different story with my bowling. It's a bit rough at times, but be working on it. I was actually going to go down for a cricket net, probably either tomorrow or the next day. I was hoping to anyway, but unfortunately, me and George filmed on Sunday, and he very generously gave me a cold. So that means that I am not in a position to bat at the moment, I guess. I'm just happy I haven't been sneezing and sounding too rough on this live stream as of yet. But yeah, gotta love a cold, don't you? Kawaja, they're just showing his record. Edge Baston, he had a fantastic test, over 200 runs. Lord's almost scoring 100 in the 2 innings. Combined, that is. 77 in the second. 17 in the first. He's been a lot slower scoring over the past maybe two test matches. It seems like he's really slowed down outside off stump from Broad. Best though, he's taking everything about here at the moment. Got to make sure you're getting the hands on that, or else you're getting smacked in the face with the ball. But that was a 141 case from Stuart Broad. 359 runs in the series for Usman Khawaja. They'll teach you for passion, George, says Tony. No, he's just really loud, isn't he? He was sitting here. We did a reaction video, which I then learned that he said that when he tried to upload it, it got a copyright claim and it was blocked in like every country. So pretty much we filmed a video that we can't use and I got sick from it. So ideal. But he wants to film again at some stage once we're both better. Yeah, good fun. 4 slips still at the moment for England. I feel like they'll be relatively aggressive with their field set. Definitely with this ball swinging and seaming early. Khawaja, though, sitting on 3 off 18 balls. Sun is out at each best, and that's plumb. That's plumb. That's out for Usman Khawaja. Hit him on the back pad from Stuart Broad. Does he go upstairs? This is going to be the big question for the Australians. Can they afford to use one early? He looks like he's content at staying at the crease. Does he go up? Yes, he does. With a 1 second remaining, he decides to go for it, but that looked pretty good to me. And I'm not normally a very good umpire, so this will probably miss the stubs. But I think that was back pad for Usman Khawaja. The only issue that could be there for it is height. I would say is the only saving grace for Usman Khawaja. Stuart Broad, he was celebrating. He didn't even look back at the umpire. He was just waving the finger all around. Does it come back enough? Yeah, it's hit him just above the mid-roll, but he's very deep in his crease, Usman Khawaja. So the only thing that might save him is a little inside edge, which he has not got. And like I mentioned, the height. Is this going to go too high? It's actually, it might be umpire's call on height here. England will certainly be hoping that it clips that stump at least. It's hit Usman Khawaja, 3 reds. The review is lost for the Australians, and Stuart Broad picks up the wicket early on of the Australians. Usman Khawaja was dismissed there. 599 test wickets for Stuart Broad. The 600 could be just around the corner, and it will be Marnus Labuschagne who makes his way to the crease, a man who Stuart Broad has already got out in this series for a golden duck. It adds just that little bit more icing on the cake, doesn't it? A little bit more excitement. It should be out, says Jared. Yeah, look pretty plumb to me. Usman Khawaja, risky to use a review so early, but I don't know whether David Warner was like, yes, surely it's bouncing over. I think it was more of maybe Khawaja's decision. He was like, nah, we'll see how it goes. Great stuff, says Distracted Sports, and go the Wellington Saints tomorrow night against the Franklin Bulls. There's Jeffrey Fockerd. And there, and speaking of Wellington, I did see that South Canterbury unfortunately did lose their Ranfurly Shield Challenge up against Wellington in the rugby side of things. But yeah, it was a little bit of a shame. They still managed 21 points on the board, though, which I thought was quite nice. Hi, all cricket, not my cup of tea, but I'll support the channel, says Robert. Appreciate you, mate. And yeah, still plenty of rugby coming up. We have got the 2 games this weekend of the Pacific Nations Cup, with Samoa playing Japan, I think it is, and then also Tonga playing Fiji. The lineups are announced tomorrow-ish, so we'll be able to let you know. I was not saying your betting coach coming into bet. He is indeed on Marnus. Gave me a few betting tips. Not personally, I just saw a video of him giving cricket coaching. An average of 53.81, so probably a decent man to listen to. He's also got the new bat. Oh, look, so everyone's changed their bets. Is it the new season of a cricket? Almost, actually. So maybe everyone's switching over to the newer brand just as they're getting cricket season underway. But down the leg side, it is actually going to be David Warner on strike. Looks like he's going to try and run it hard. Mark Wood fires it in. We'll just take the 1 run. So now Marnus Labuschagne, the first ball he will be facing, will be bowled by Jimmy Anderson. We just take Broad for granted. He goes under the radar of Anderson. 600 wickets is a massive achievement, says Coding. I can tell you right now, David Warner definitely does not underestimate the bowling of Stuart Broad. He has felt quite a few of those 600 wickets that Broad has almost got for himself. In fact, he's about, what's the math? He's about 3% of Broad's wickets throughout his career is David Warner. One individual player. And now Marnus Labuschagne facing off with Jimmy Anderson. And I have to say, Anderson seemed like he was quite enjoying that angle across Usman Khawaja. Going to be going around the wicket, or sorry, over the wicket though, to Marnus Labuschagne. They have got 4 slips. They have got a leg slip in play as well. That looks like it's Ben Stokes, a mid-wicket, a mid-on, which means that they've left that cover drive just a little bit more open, and also that straight drive down towards mid-off. Jimmy Anderson now, a little bit shorter than we normally see from him. Nicely played by Marnus Labuschagne. Last wicket falling, Usman Khawaja, 3 runs off 19 deliveries. So once again, he just hasn't quite got those runs on the board early. And I don't know whether or not that is just because he doesn't feel like he's confident enough to play those shots we normally see. I think when Khawaja's at his most dangerous, he's an attacking batsman. But throughout this Ashes series, ever since that first test match, he seems to have gone into his shell a little bit too much. Oh, Peach. Well bowled by Jimmy Anderson there. That one just had a little bit of swing inwards and then seamed away as well. Mark Wood liked it. And how can this lad take wickets all the time? Says Abiskar and Freaky Broad. Yeah, he's consistent, isn't he? Every innings of this Ashes test series so far, he has taken at least 1 wicket. And to be honest, if he keeps bowling like he was to Usman Khawaja and Warner, he's going to be taking much more than just the 1 in this innings. Anderson now. They want to swing away just a little bit. Labuschagne leaves again on length. Bounce won't be too variable throughout this innings, I wouldn't be thinking. But a big difference and a talking point you could say as well with the way that Usman Khawaja was out LBW, the difference between him and Warner is probably about 1.5 feet in terms of where they are standing. Because Usman Khawaja, he's quite deep in his crease to Stuart Broad, whereas Warner is a good maybe foot or so outside of his crease, which slightly nullifies the LBW if you do get hit around that knee roll. But because of how deep Khawaja was, it didn't actually end up being even an umpire's call, instead just a straight 3 reds. Labuschagne yet to get himself off the mark, 0 off 4 balls. 1 ball remaining in the Anderson over, who has been putting on the pressure quite nicely, only 6 runs off him throughout his 3 overs. Does he give Labuschagne a little bit of a loosener outside off stump? No, it's on the stumps. Labuschagne whips it to the leg side, gets the inside edge off it, I should say, and that will be the end of the over, 17 for 1. Now Marnus Labuschagne, he is going to have the strike up against Stuart Broad. Like I mentioned, he's actually already got him out on a golden duck throughout this Ashes series. He won't be able to get a duck as of yet in this one, but Stuart Broad still definitely wouldn't mind getting the man out early. I mentioned that for England, if they can get 3 or 4 wickets in this first session, they will well and truly take that and consider it as, I would say, a 1 session. 4 wickets, definitely 3 wickets. That'd be like, it would depend a little bit in terms of how many runs we've given away. They're just showing Khawaja hanging back in his crease. Stuart Broad gets the wicket, and Warner needs to attack. He looks good when he is aggressive, says Abiskar, and I think that's exactly what he needs to do, because he is another player that if he goes into defensive mindsets, he doesn't really get those runs free flowing, and then from there he finds himself going out. At the moment, he's sitting 12 off 12. Of course, one of those was an edge, but even so, still sitting at that strike rate of 100. And you know that Labuschagne's going to theoretically be there for the long haul in this test match. He will try and bat at least a couple of sessions, but Stuart Broad outside off stump, left alone by Labuschagne. 130 kilometres an hour from quite a wide release point, Stuart Broad. But yeah, you've got to work on the theory that even though you've lost a wicket, you still have to be aggressive, because that is where Warner is able to get a majority of his runs. It's just through seeing a short ball and going, yeah, I can go after that, or seeing a cover drive opportunity open up and going, might as well. I've got good hand eye. Shanks, second ball faced. Stuart Broad for defensive. Broad has started this test match off very well, getting that line and length relatively in tight towards that off stump. He did do a couple looseners outside of off for David Warner and Usman Khawaja early just to test whether or not they were willing to have a crack at him. And with cover as open as it is, they've got the man at extra cover. They've got a backward point, so the cut shot's completely open for Labuschagne here. Same with a cover drive if he gets it wide enough. Thought about taking the single, but Stokes able to cut it off. No run taken. But yeah, if it is slightly straying wide from Stuart Broad and Labuschagne does decide to go after it, it's going to be at least 2 runs here. It would be Stokes or the backward point. Have to go and get it. They're just showing that wobble seam from Stuart Broad. I actually saw something interesting from him the other day. That he was talking about his first 3 or 4 overs, he doesn't look to swing the ball at all. And the reason he doesn't look to swing it is because he just really tries to get a feel for how it's going to be coming out, tries to find his length first, and then worries about swinging it. Whereas Jimmy Anderson, he is the complete opposite. That is a drive and a half from Labuschagne. That will be 4 runs down the ground, a little bit too full from Stuart Broad, just straying his length a little bit. Labuschagne pounces on the opportunity. Yeah, Jimmy Anderson, he always looks to swing it from ball number 1 to see how much swing is going to be available for the English attack. But very nice shot from Marnus Labuschagne. Almost, yeah, it was just a little bit too full from Stuart Broad, maybe about a metre or so. Labuschagne just had to push it. Oh, that one has come back a mile from Stuart Broad. It was the in swinger. Has it come back enough? Was it going too high? It looks like both of those answers are yes. So they will not review that one. But that one came back a long way for Labuschagne. He was lucky his pad was there. Oh, it was a no ball anyway, so that wouldn't have helped. Which I assume is why Stuart Broad also decided not to review. Maybe he knew he overstepped just a little bit. But this one came back in a mile, and yeah, Labuschagne, the leg was off the ground. So I'd say it was probably a good maybe 5 inches over the top of the stumps. But plenty of movement available. That ball has not gone where Labuschagne tried to hit it. He tried to whip it to leg. Instead, a leading edge hits it down the ground for 2 runs. That one, in fact, they just take the 2. I thought they were considering 3 for a second. Did you see the proposed Anzac team to take on the Lions? I ruffled some feathers in South Africa. Says Hanoi. Right, so I haven't seen anything along those lines. So were some South Africans annoyed because an Anzac team made up of Australia and New Zealand didn't have any South Africans in it? Is that what happened? Maybe? I don't know. Or is it kind of like the equivalent of like a Southern Anzac team? I guess. Oh, that's down the leg side. That's taken off. That'll be 4 runs now. Going to be called as buys. 28 for 1 now, the end of the over. I don't think Bairstow would have been able to get to that one, even if he left extremely early. It was slowly drifting away. Yes, they wondered why they'd been excluded. Did anyone explain to them what Anzac is, or probably not? I mean, Southern Lions has been pitched quite a few times, which would involve South African fellas in it, and I feel like there would be actually quite a few South Africans made up into a Southern Lions team to head north. But yeah, an Anzac side, I don't think you'd see too many South Africans scattered throughout, unfortunately. Right, Jimmy Anderson, now ready to go again. Oh, that's come back in and hit Warner right in his ding dong, unfortunately. It's the best way of putting it, kind of curved right in. Hey, Amish, says George. Hello, George. How you going? Jimmy Anderson. Yeah, that one. Oh, no, he's hit it into his own, David Warner. So he's actually assisted the ball blaster, unfortunately. Ended up getting stuck in his pad as well. A little bit of cloud around at the moment. Nothing too serious at the ground. Off the back foot for David Warner, breaks through Moen Ali's dive, who has slipped over. And 7 players from each country would be good for match day 23. Maybe 2 extra from the host. Says in the weekend. Yeah, it could be an option, maybe in the future if they are able to squeeze it in somewhere along the lines. One moment. Like this. We are good. You will see me do that a few times throughout this live stream. Got a little bit of a cold, unfortunately. 4 balls remaining in the Jimmy Anderson over, though. George has donated $1.49 with a super sticker. Now, I will have to open a thingy to see what that super sticker is, George. One moment. Bear with me. Anyone who doesn't know, George is one of the other Kiwi lads, by the way. That is his lovely, well, might be. Is that your combine and whatnot, George? That's someone else's. I just realised I called a mower a combine, but that's all right. George will be throwing things in his lounge at the moment. And the sticker is it's a weight. It is a singular weight. What does that mean, George? Stuart Broad is best as 8 for 15. If he got that from here, that would be pretty handy. You work for me now. Anyone who hasn't already, of course, check out the Kiwi Lads Entertainment channel, another channel myself and George are on. It's a mower or a combine, or a little bit of both. Nice bit of swing there still for Jimmy Anderson in the early overs. Shane moves up to 7 of 15. Oh, it's a mower, not a combine. There we go. I got there in the end. Today, brother, you streaming the Wars game on Friday at 8 p.m. At this stage, I don't think so, but maybe. I still want to do a few of the Warriors games as we get a little bit closer to the end of the season, just because it's been an idea. Well, it's been an idea since before Super Rugby, but now that Super Rugby's ended, I thought I'd have more time to do those games. But somehow we haven't managed to do any as of yet. But we've only done preseason for the Warriors. Into the over now, 31 for 1. The Australians getting off to a decentish start. And this one, other than, of course, that loss of wicket of Usman Khawaja, I am the captain now, says George Meyer. He is in charge of that entertainment channel. For anyone who has watched a few of the videos on there, we react to random stuff. We do random stuff. It's a lot of fun. Oh, Chris Wokes now coming into the bowling attack for the English. Group dressed as the Beatles in the stands. Chris Wokes, he was pretty decent in that last test match, his first one of the Ashes series. Started off going for a few extra runs, but then from there managed to bring that line really nicely in. Got themselves a few quick wickets for the English. And if they can get, like I said, 1 or 2 more in this session, if not 3 or 4, massive for them. Although Australia's batting lineup goes very deep. When you have Pat Cummins batting 10, and to a certain extent, when you have Mitchell Starc batting 9, you know that you've got a pretty decent side in front of you with the bat in hand. They've got a couple batting all-rounders with Cam Green, as well as having Mitchell Marsh, a man who got himself a century in the last test match, relatively straight from Wokes. Not a lot of spin available there. A couple keepy ups. Takes the ball back into his hand. I missed the Rugby League live streams, says Kyle. Although we did do one for State of Origin. There was actually a most recent live stream on the channel, I believe. If I'm not wrong, we actually did one, maybe not most recent, sorry, but yeah, most recent Rugby League one was actually only a week ago. Fun fact. We did all 3 State of Origin games. Work to the leg side by Warner, straight to the man at mid-wicket, though. No run taken again. Sitting on 15 off 16. Shane faced the same amount of balls already. short time that he's been at the crease, but he has scored 7 runs off it, including probably the best shot of the day, which was that one straight down the ground. I couldn't agree more, especially when that spin goes right and you have the momentum on the flats. Eh? We have done a live stream with George in the past with cricket fun fact, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it was actually it might have been the 2019 Ashes, but it also may have been New Zealand versus someone, if I'm not wrong. Might have been an Aussie one. I know he was on for one. We also had Isaac on for one in the past. Now 3 balls gone of Wokes already, yet to go for a single run. Almost chopping on there, David Warner, but I mentioned earlier on he's got a little bit more luck today than he's had in past innings by the looks of it. He thought he had a back foot cover drive. He'd inside edged it onto his foot, I think that was. Yeah, it was, or almost onto the pads. I did see your cricket video. It was cool. It seemed short. Says Robert. It might have been because I did not really bat for too long in that innings, but also there is a second part that is going to be coming out in the near future. I just have a few technically editing things and whatnot that I have to try and work on in terms of like blurring out people and whatnot. On the next one, we've got another donation from George. Your mum's in the DMs. I remember that time when we were out and about, and my mum actually was in your DMs, George, because she was wondering whereabouts we were. But yeah, I feel like there's no concern there overall. I talked to your mum at the discounter the other day, so it's all good. I remember when your Xbox stopped working, you still had problems with it. I managed to get it fixed, although since then I did actually have to get a Series S to be able to continue recording videos back at the time. That was an inside edge from Warner. And they managed to run a single. Warner was actually turning about halfway down the pitch and just backing up, take the one. But that will be the end of the over, 32 for one. Doing relatively well to restrict some of the runs being scored by Australia. Still that occasional boundary still coming in as well. Yeah, that Xbox, it still exists and it still kind of works, I guess. It's just, yeah, it doesn't really get too much use. But that was back in the Rugby Challenge 4 days and the Cricket 19, I think we were playing a bit of GTA 5 on the entertainment channel. Your mum actual slipped in my DMs. She did. She did. That is true. Probably watching this live stream if you want to say anything to her, George. Say hi. Mark Wood now coming into the bowling attack, 33 years of age. You owe me $11. That's not how donating works, George. Thanks, Hamish. Did you see it as like an investment? You know, you invest and then it's a good way of keeping the money in a banking situation, you know? 4 slits, Mark Wood. Lot of pace on the ball when this man bowls. I believe he bowled an average of 150 Ks in his first over of the last test match. And this pure pace with the carry, I believe we're going to see a few balls bouncing over the top of Johnny Bairstow's head. I think Bairstow's probably accepted that as well. But we'll see how it's going. Outside off stump, Warner decides to play relatively aggressive, gets on the front foot, on the back foot, and actually just cuts it away towards the boundary. They take the 3 runs. Labuschagne has to run hard, and he just gets there. A direct hit, he would have been in trouble. But Warner did not want to face another ball. Charging interest as of now, says George. Strategy. You're a businessman, I can see. Ben Stokes, fantastic throw from in the deep. And yeah, it would have been close to out if it was a direct hit. At the end of the month, it goes up to 20, says George. I hope they make a new rugby game that has really good gameplay, says Fallon, because I know that there's another one that will be coming out made by Big Ant in the next kind of few months or so. I think it's in about 3 months. It's supposed to be dropping. It's either just before or just after the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's a good one. Mark Wood now. Going to be bowling to Marnus Labuschagne in that pace. I believe if I'm not wrong, Labuschagne was dismissed in the first innings by Mark Wood of the last Test match. Worked the leg side nicely though, towards the man at square legged as Chris Wokes. No run taken again for the Australians. Already 10 overs down and 45 minutes into the stream, which is incredible, really. It feels like it's only been about 20 minutes of cricketing action. I feel like because the Ashes is really getting towards that business end of the competition, we're starting to see every little decision could affect the outcome. Definitely in a test match like this, when there is such a rain delay expected for the last 2 days of this test. Still the leg slip and play for Marnus down the leg side. Bairstow. Was there an edge? Was it an edge? Johnny Bairstow, it's hit his hand, and I think he might have really badly hurt his finger here. He's just not seeing it into his gloves. I think a lot of people were surprised to see that he was still keeping his spot. Oh, no, didn't quite get it. And yeah, Bairstow just hitting the finger straight away, wasn't liking it. And good night, Hamish. Says Georgie, we'll see you later on, mate. We'll probably end up talking tomorrow, to be fair. You probably wanted to see a couple more graphs and whatnot. I'll send those through later on. I hope you the best. Okay, says George. Okay, you too. Enjoy work tomorrow. 7 runs though for Labuschagne. Yes, though we've already seen him drop, I believe, 3 throughout the morning session. Some solid from Marnus. A little bit of extra bounce there. It's him on the splice of the bat. You can make a day in the life vid. It'll be cool to see what you do when you're not streaming, says Kyle. It would be, other than the fact that it's not really too much, unfortunately. Although there is an old Kiwi Lads vlog, which I'm not sure whether or not you've seen, Kyle, when me, George, and Isaac all go down south and go bowling. Recommend checking that out. I think it's called Kiwi Lads Vlog, or it might be called Meet the Kiwi Lads, actually. That's about probably our most eventful thing that we've actually ended up doing. But then also on the entertainment channel, there is a vlog of when we went up the road to go see Isaac as well, where we went and what did we do? We went go-karting, which I don't think actually made it into that video. We went golfing, which did, and a few of the other things in there as well. But yeah, we don't really do a lot outside of live streaming other than editing and filming more videos. Probably should start doing more though. Maybe we'll have to get a monthly vlog going or something along those lines. Then at least that would encourage me to, film more stuff outside of YouTube. Mark Wood, 93 miles per hour, that last delivery. Warner now, nicely played again, hits it out through that point region. This will be at least 2 runs, if not maybe even more. Well fielded by Chris Wokes, puts the body on the line, and they'll get back for 3. And also we have got there, okay, going to check this, got right now, says Kyle. And that'll be the end of the 10th over, 39 for 1. Actually, they're just showing that delivery from Mark Wood to Usman Khawaja in the first test. He actually managed to clean up Mitchell Stark's wicket as well. Managed to get Pat Cummins with the plum LBW. And then he did manage to get Alex Carey out when he hit it in the air. And then chopped on for Todd Murphy, the fifer for Mark Wood. Yes, how many KFCs can you see? Says Robert. Although I should mention one of the KFCs that we drove past to Christchurch has now closed for a month. So that was the closest KFC to us is now shut. And that was still a 30-minute drive. So you're not checking around at the moment. But it'll be all right. Now Chris Wokes, 1 run off his first over. Ooh, Yorker. Attempted and nicely fielded there in the slip cordon. Also, I think the All Blacks become second in the Rugby World Cup. South Africa coming first. There's Kyle there. It could happen. I know that there's a chance that they play each other in the quarterfinal, but only if one of them finishes first and the other finishes second. They both finish second or they both finish first. They'll then play France and Ireland, which could be a couple of very entertaining games. Played again. And Wallace said, does anyone know where we can watch it live? Whereabouts are you from in the world, Dewall? Do let me know. In New Zealand, it's actually free to wear, which is great. It's on TVNZ Plus, but I don't believe that's available overseas, unfortunately. In Australia, I believe it's on 9 Now, if I'm not wrong. And that is also a free to wear service. And oh, no good, says Robert. And then, nah, it's all right. Definitely because we're just before the cricket season as well. So I feel like not being able to have any KFC or anything, that'll be good for the fitness plan going into the new season because I am very unfit. As you guys would have seen from that cricket video, I was puffing heavily. If I can run a few singles this year without puffing like I've just run a marathon, I'll be pretty happy overall. Playing that one quite late there, David Warner. Turned it into the ground. A little bit of a back foot punch attempted. It just once again has hit it into his body. Like they're saying, could have easily chopped it on, and perhaps in another innings he would have. But now the luck is on his side. Nice pull shot there. Wokes just dragging the length back a little bit too far, and that one will race away to the boundary for another 4 runs for David Warner. Now moves up to 26 off 26. And very much like he's got a lot of intent in the way that he's batting today. And it is helping the Australians out when it comes to those runs on the ball, currently sitting on 43. Like they've said, on a pitch that will mean that the ball is a little bit around that kind of chest-ish area. David Warner will find a lot of success on this wicket if he can stay at the crease for a long period of time, which at the moment he's not doing too badly. One ball left of the Wokes over. We'll be back to the pace of Mark Wood. I should mention anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We have got at least one session being covered of the Ashes for this 4th Test match every day. Maybe not the last 2 days if it is raining for both of the days, unfortunately, but we'll probably still pop on for a bit of a live stream while it is taking place. Warner, another straight delivery from Wokes, much better line there, and that will be the end of the 11th over, 43 for 1. Currently England, 50 minutes in, 11 overs. They are a little bit behind the over rate, unfortunately, which seems to be the case with every side at the moment around the world. It seems like it's very tricky to be able to get through that 30 overs. Wokes and Wood, the 2 men added in last test match. Another man added in for this test match is Jimmy Anderson. Has come in rather than Ollie Robinson. Been taken out of the side. I believe that is the first test match that he has missed so far throughout this Ashes series, and that is due to injury. Shorter ball. Oh, it's right on Stokes' knee. Oh no, it's on the shin. That's not going to be nice for Ben Stokes. Unfortunately, he's already walking wounded. He's got a sore back. He's got a sore knee. He's got a sore butt from the last test match. Now he's got a sore shin to go alongside it. And unfortunately, just straight into the middle. Needed the shin guards like he was playing football there, Ben Stokes. That Crawley's just laughing at him. A bit rough, isn't it? I think Stokes is saying what you're laughing at. Are you streaming all 5 days? If there are 5 days of cricket, we are hoping to stream the 5 days, but it does just a little bit depend on what the weather does for those last 2 days. Oh, short ball. Marnus liked it. 93 miles an hour or 149 Ks for Mark Wood. And when did you play the game that you recently uploaded, says Siddhartha? That is a good question because, yeah, it is quite a wee while ago. I believe that game would have been maybe it was either before Christmas or just after Christmas, around late January. Might have been actually, no, I'll take that back. It was late January because, yeah, it was the first game that we had won of the season, I believe. No, sorry, second game. We won the game beforehand. It's going to be nicely avoided by Labuschagne with his bat, and that will be another 4 runs for Byes against Johnny Bairstow. Like they've said, maybe purposely put down that leg side to try and convince Marnus Labuschagne to go for that little bit of a leg side flick, but unfortunately, I feel like there needs to be more warning for Johnny Bairstow there because he was never getting to that one by the time it took off. Yeah, we've still got a few more cricket videos from last season's cricketing that we are going to be able to upload as we get closer to this season. It's just the fact that we had so little games due to rain in a middle patch that I decided to wait a little bit longer to release them so that we then have a little bit of GoPro cricket right through to the new season when we start having them go up on the channel consistently. From India, there's Arapita there. Welcome in. I hope you are doing very well. Been enjoying the Ashes series so far. You've probably been enjoying that India versus West Indies series. India just that first test match, well and truly being able to dominate it. And hi, Amish, how are you doing? Jimmy is back in the side, I see. Hope he has a good one, says Peter. I'm doing all right. I do have a bit of a cold at the moment, unfortunately, so I haven't been up to too much in terms of out and about, but recovering slowly, hopefully. Should be right in a couple of days by the weekend. I'm actually very happy, though, because like before I started this live stream and all of yesterday, my nose was running flat out. But now that I've started doing a live stream, luckily it's decided to almost behave itself, which is good news, which hopefully I haven't just jinxed, but yeah, fingers crossed. Just showing Todd Murphy there. He's got a towel on his back. He is not in the starting lineup for the Aussies. Have you heard about MLC? MLC. Is that like Major League Cricket or something like that, Siddhartha? Or not too sure what MLC is? Bit shorter from Mark Wood. Well played by Marnus Labuschagne, and that is the end of the over. 47 for 1 after the 12. Those Argentinians got the better of us in the final seconds. Only watched the highlights, says Real Peter. It was a great game to watch. Like both sides having their individual moments in it. It just led to it being a very entertaining test match to watch, which hopefully is going to be the case for next week's games for both sides, whether it's New Zealand versus Australia or Argentina versus South Africa. Hopefully, both entertaining games. Going to be just around the corner. And the Aussies will win, says Shannon Humphries. Well, and all they need in this one is a draw, and they will retain the Ashes. But of course, they'd love to at least walk away with a series win rather than a series draw. Warner at the moment sitting on 26 off 28. Labuschagne sitting on 8 off 26. Warner back on strike, plays it nicely off the back foot. What happened to Johnny Sexton? I see that he got banned for 5 games or something along those lines, says Fallon. Yeah, so that was to do with the Champions Cup final between La Rochelle and Leinster. After the match was finished, Johnny Sexton actually went onto the field and verbally abused the referee. So he wasn't in the match 23, but because he went on the field and everything along those lines as well and did say what he said to the referee, that is why he's been made miss a few games. And tea and lemon, okay. I hope you feel better. Says Robert there. So it's only early on in the old cold. So I'm hoping that by the weekend we're going to be all good to go and 3-game ban. Says Joseph there. But then saying that, those would count as warm-up games for the World Cup. They would be games off the ban too. Yeah, so we'll just miss the warm-up games. So it's worked out all right for the Irish overall because I know a lot of people when they saw that Johnny Sexton may miss that World Cup, they were like, oh, no, not ideal. But yeah, it seems like the fact that he's only going to miss warm-up games for the World Cup, Ireland's hopes will still be high heading into that competition in France, which is good to see because they've been in some terrific form over the last 24 months. Which team are you supporting? I mean, ideally, I know that it might not be in a popular opinion for some Australian viewers, but if England were to win this match, we go into the final game of the Ashes series sitting 1-1. And as a neutral, that would be pretty awesome because then that last test match means so much more for both of the teams. And I'd like to see it, of course. So that means he misses the Rugby World Cup opener, says Fallon. What have Ireland got in their opening game? I don't think they don't play South Africa in their opening contest, do they? They play someone else in that group. but it's not Scotland. Is it Portugal or is it? Um, no, Portugal's not even in that group. Who are the lower teams in that group? They've got Tonga and they've got Romania, I believe, is the two other games. Oh, cut shot attempted by Warner. A little bit of a slightly impatient shot, I guess you could say, from Warner, but he saw that it was shorter, knew that if he got hold of it, it was going to be going to the boundary, and didn't quite connect with the ball. In fact, the way that he tried to whip the wrist, it almost slightly looked like there was a bit of a pull shot also going there. I wouldn't have been surprised if he hit it quite straight compared to where he was trying to get it there, Warner. Even as an Australian, I would like seeing them win this one and have the series come down to the wire like 2005. Says Peter. Now, Wokes. Another slightly shorter pitch delivery. Great running between the wickets between the two Aussie batsmen. And that'll be the end of the opening hour. And also the 13th over 50 for 1 for Australia. So they've been able to fire back quite nicely from when they did lose that early wicket of Usman Khawaja for 3 runs. From there, David Warner still being able to build up his run tally quite nicely alongside Marnus Labuschagne, who was sitting on 8 of 26, although he was sitting on about 8 off maybe about 15 balls. So he has slowed down a little bit more. Or might have been actually 6 off about 16 or 18 balls, in fact. And Tonga looked good with the ex-All Blacks playing. Says Fallon. And yeah, I think Tonga are going to come a long way in the next little while. The slightly unfortunate thing for them is the fact that they've got South Africa, Ireland, and Scotland all in their group, because that's going to be very tricky to be able to get out of that one for the Rugby World Cup. But I can still win, or I can see them winning a few games in the near future, whether or not that's a part of the World Cup or maybe the pre-competition with the Pacific Nations Cup. Mark Wood back into the bowling attack. Maybe that isn't the end of the first. That might not be drinks. In fact, both sides seem like they're pretty keen to keep going. Maybe we've got one more over and then the drinks break. Possibly. Or maybe they've just been told because the over rate is so slow that the drinks break is that short. Because we saw one of the Australian fellas, I believe he had the gloves off, he had the pads off and everything, or maybe not the pads, but he had the gloves, the helmet off and everything like that. So, yeah, maybe the over rate's something that they're looking at in this test match as an important factor, which it will be. Definitely if they're going to lose 2 days. Jedi Rain running this one hard. David Warner, they're going to be able to get through for it. He's called for it, and he gets there as well. Brilliantly done. Why the West Indies lost so horribly, says Kathakia. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one for the West Indies because I feel like they're very much in a building phase at the moment in terms of trying to work out exactly who they want in their squad and how they're going to be able to compete at the biggest level, because it's been an unfortunate couple of years for West Indies, if not even an unfortunate 5 years. You know, they've missed out on the most recent ODI World Cup qualifying. They were beaten badly by India, which, I mean, to a certain extent, probably wasn't too much of a surprise, mainly because India at the moment, they look very strong for their test match. Like at the end of the day, they made it through to the World Test Championship final. But yeah, the West Indies, they're just struggling a little bit at the moment. They're missing those X Factor players that used to make people, I guess, not just watch the West Indies, but know who were going to be the performers. Like whether that was back in the day with Chris Gale in the shorter format, or whether you look even further back to Brian Lara, a few of the old bowlers, Michael Holding, those kind of guys. Warner gets himself another single. India win Ice Cream Cup. Says a Seb, and hi everyone, I'm from India. Says Fillings Love. Welcome in. Keep him very well. David Warner at the moment, he's brought up 8,375 runs throughout his career in test matches. Labuschagne now. It just shows how dangerous Labuschagne's been, because I believe he's on about the 3,800 mark, and he has played a lot less tests than David Warner. Beautifully whipped off his pads there. And that was a tad over pitch from Mark Wood. Labuschagne pounces on the opportunity and works it away to leg side for another 4 runs. And 15 overs, 57 runs, says Filling Love. Fourth, or in fact, fifth 4 of the day now for Marnus Leversham. Overpitched. It would have been a good LBW shout had it missed the bat. But unfortunately, out of the middle, Marnus able to get it to the boundary. Are you doing all 3 or are you going to do all the sessions? Says Jacob. I haven't completely decided yet. I believe the plan for today was just going to be doing the one session mainly because I have got a bit of a cold. Well, I have got a cold at the moment, but it doesn't seem to be playing up too much at the moment. So not too sure. We'll see how we're going, I think. And Marnus Labuschagne just talking about the glare that's coming from behind Mark Wood's arm. Oh, so while they're sorting that out, they're actually going to be taking the drinks break. Hello, sir. Where are you? I am from New Zealand. So we're currently sitting 11:05 p.m. here in New Zealand. First session going to be ending at midnight for us here. Okay, so the drinks break is now being taken. India launched moon mission. Says Asitaru. Hopefully I've said that correctly. An eventful first hour of the cricket, I would have to say. Like Marnus Levershane scoring, I feel like it's going to pick up in this next hour or so just because they'll really look to get some runs on the board, Aussie, throughout this and the next session. Definitely if they aren't losing too many wickets along the way, might be the perfect time to be able to just slowly keep those runs ticking over. Currently going at about that maybe 3.84 runs per over, somewhere around there, I believe. Not sitting too badly. In fact, they're actually getting closer to scoring maybe actually over the 4 runs and over. Looking at that. But yeah, decent enough work from the Aussies in the early stages. If they can keep that up, they'll set themselves a very good first innings total up against the English. What do you think about World Cup New Zealand? Says Fillings Love. I know that a lot of Kiwis aren't too hopeful with this upcoming ODI World Cup, mainly because there's been a few substantial injuries, but I don't think people are looking at that as the main thing for New Zealand. I think it's just that subcontinental condition of spin favorable pitches. We just don't seem to play too well on them, unfortunately. Like we've never had a very good record on those ones. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they end up going. But I think a lot of people are just looking for them to do decently in terms of, just putting in a good show in a few of their matches and seeing how they go. Thoughts on this team to play Australia? Also, what would you change? All Blacks 9, Aaron Smith 10, D-Mac, Lester, Braden, Rico Ioane, Moni Narawa, Sean Stevenson. Well, I don't think they'll give Sean Stevenson a crack because I think I saw something about how Ian Foster had released him from the AB squad. I think that might have just been a rumour though, but I don't think they'll give Sean Stevenson a crack, sadly, even though he probably does deserve it, but they don't seem to want to give him that chance. Other than that, though, I mean, they might look at. I don't know if they'll go Braden in or 12 is the only thing. I think that they may, they'd actually be more likely, I think, to play Leicester as a 12 than Braden Ennor. Or maybe actually Anton Leonard Brown will be back from his suspension, won't he? So he might get a crack. Or Dallas McLeod would be an option for them. But yeah, I think they prefer Ennor as that 13 or out on that left or right wing. It looks like the drinks break has come to a close. They've fixed whatever was behind the bowler's arm. Marnus Labuschagne was not too happy about. Just a little bit of trouble with the seating. That's it. It looks like a beautiful day over there, though. Emirates. Oh, what's Johnny got in his eye? Other than the eyeball, of course. I think he might have got a little bit of grass or a bug or something flown in there. They're just talking about the toss. The fact that Australia weren't able to get themselves the victory in the tossing department, but they probably won't be too annoyed about it. Okay, they're just showing that there's some shininess that so Manus isn't happy with a bar that's like short or kind of shining back, which is interesting because, like they've said, it's been like that since 2012. But interesting. England are the best tossers in the world, so we can't be too disappointed, says TPW. And Sean Stevenson has just or has been done, just like RTS, says Fallon. Yeah, although Stevenson at this stage has not decided to jump to league yet, but there's probably the opportunity there for him if he does want it. I think Stuart Broad is just trying to negotiate with the crowd. He's saying, is it possible? I think he's trying to get everyone to sit at the back, up at up at the top, so that it blocks that bar. So Stuart Broad, I think his goal is to try and get people to move up a bit further. He's saying if everyone is willing to move back and sit up there, then we'll be able to continue. I hope they like give those people like a free hat or something. Yeah, everyone is just taking a couple more steps upwards. I feel like they're doing what Stuart Broad says because it's Stuart Broad. You do what he says. He was telling you. Yeah, he's just trying to minimize the amount of shine that's coming from it. Oh, in fact, I've got some tape by the looks of it. So this will be a problem that they have to try and fix. I can't figure out why the English keep sending us into bat when we win the toss. You bat first, or when you win the toss, you bat first. Says Peter. What's Broad doing? He's pretty much he was negotiating with people to sit a little bit higher up so that it was blocking the blurriness. Okay, so they're just checking it. If everyone sits down, it should be all right, they're saying. Australia to win and take the series. Will this test end in a draw? Okay, now they're moving everyone back down to the front because they've got some tape. This is a weird. I've never commentated something like that. How we've got a player trying to negotiate with people where they are sitting so that the test match can continue. No use to sunshine, says Peter. And why English bowling? Why England bowling? Come on now. And howdy, howdy, Hamish, says Blues Nate. Welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing very well. Yeah, it's an interesting choice. And with that early wicket falling of Usman Khawaja, it seemed like it could be the right one. But now that Australia is starting to build up a decent total at the start of it, nice partnership here between these two, starting to seem like maybe the wrong decision was made, unfortunately. And with this test match ended a draw, as you told earlier, 2 days are full of rain. It'll be so unfortunate for England they can't win the Ashes. Says coding. Basically, it's crowd control before they start pitching, says Simi Souza. And Sean would do well in the NRL. I think he's made for that type of sport, grow well. Is Alan. Right, we're ready to go. The funny thing is the sun's gone away now. It's actually got a lot darker. The clouds have actually sorted the problem rather than the tape that's going to be put down over the silver area. I think that took about 8 minutes. 8 minutes to sort out some sun. Impressive. That will not help the over rate, unfortunately, in the early stages of this test match. Another 45 minutes remaining of this session. And I've got the 40-minute break, and then session number 2 is just around the corner. Mark Wood bounces in, it's off the edge, but it goes through the cordon for England. That'll be 4 runs for Marnus Labuschagne. That was very close to the opportunity for England early on in the second hour. It's all good doing office work at the moment. Listen to the Kiwi lads. Says Blues Nate. It looks like a rainy cricket day here potentially. Says Simi Souza. Yeah, it has clouded over quite drastically in the last little while, but there was plenty of sun around just about 5 minutes ago, although that can be the case with the English weather. It can go from good to bad extremely quickly. If they had a 5th slip, in fact, if they had 4 slips rather than the 3 slips in a gully, that could have been a chance for England. The worst thing is they've had a 4th slip throughout this early stage of the innings. It just took them away for that one. And now Wokes back into the bowling attack. Crowd giving their applause to Mark Wood. Partnership moves up to 46 runs off 55 balls. Taken over very nicely. Hey, the Kiwi who do you want to see win, or are you a neutral, says TPW? I am pretty neutral overall. To be honest, for the sake of the Ashes series, I feel it would be great to see England pick up the victory here, just because we would then go into the last test match with it all to play for, and that will be the wicket. Warner ends up with the outside edge. Wokes picks him up, and that will be the dismissal of Warner now. And he is disappointed. Unfortunately, just tries to play it that one a little bit outside of off stump. Hardly any foot movement, I don't believe, for David Warner there. And he's going to end up with a wicket going the way of the English. Oh, he got a little bit of a step to it, to be fair, but it was just that movement across him that he wasn't quite able to counter. Stokesy, I love you, says Bilal. And also, you nearly got a 50. And the Cricket Kiwi lad says, NZ guy, we were working on it. I feel like still got a lot of improvement to make before next year. Or this year, I guess I should say, in the cricket season. But I'm excited. Should be good fun. And also, if on McEnroe is there, he would go, you cannot be serious because he asked to come back down. Says Kiwi Gamer. Right, that one's gone straight over my head, I'll be honest. And out says Liam. Was indeed. David Warner dismissed. 2 left-handers gone, and now 2 right-handers at the crease. I wonder if this will be Warner's last Ashes series. Says Peter, it'll be an interesting one because the next one will be in Australia in 2 years' time. But it's whether or not he's still playing in 2025, at least playing at international level anyway. See, that's the thing. Even 2024-ish, I see David Warner maybe hanging it up. You might consider doing more of the short format stuff, though, at that stage. Normally, that is what the players do. They go to the shorter formats as they get closer to the end of their career. But David Warner is just in these English conditions. He normally ends up getting cleaned up by Stuart Broad, but Chris Wokes the man who gets him this time. 32 runs, though, for David Warner. Not too bad in this innings compared to the other opener, who was Makawadra, who got 3. Now Steve Smith at the crease, receives the short ball. He's gone after it, and the catching chance was almost there for Mark Wood. Oh, I think it's gone over the top of him and gone for 6 runs. Is that 6 runs? For the first ball that Steve Smith has faced? No, it was 1 bounce 4, I believe. But what happens here? Steve Smith goes after it. Mark Wood just out of the reach. And also it did bounce in the field of play for Steve Smith. But that is an aggressive shot choice for Steve Smith off the very first ball that he's faced. I think this will be his last series in England. Yeah. Mean Māori, mean Ben Stokes. Fire it up, lad, says Blues Nate. Warner improved a bit low. Says Annoy. That was a nice delivery down the leg side from Chris Wokes, trying to sneak that leg stump off Steve Smith. Laughing face from Blues Nate as well. But yeah, very aggressive from Steve Smith to start off his innings. A moment. We'll go like this. We are all good. I don't think my voice sounds like I have a cold, which is good news. Because or else then it would be a bit more rough or a bit raspy, I would say. Smith, he's sitting on 4 off 3 at the moment. Run rate for the Australians are almost 4.5 per over. And big Silky Steve looking to slide his way into a century, says TPW. Now banging his bat furiously on the turf. Side off stump. Came back in nicely, but Steve Smith able to jump across to that offside. Plays it straight. 1 ball remaining and Wokes is over. He's already been able to create that chance for the English. Bairstow taking the catch, which is very nicely done as he has put down a few throughout this Ashes series. Was able to hang on to that one though. 4 for Steve Smith. Started off with a strike rate of 400. Straight delivery. Little bit of pop there, he says. And that will be the end of the over. 15 overs down and 65 for 2. I said at the start of the session, if we end up seeing, I would say, well, 3 wickets minimum in this first session for England is what they require. If they manage to get 4, that would be even more beneficial. I just think there is a little bit of rain around Manchester, so we might get an interruption or two, says Peter. Is that for today or is that for the test match in general, Peter? Hopefully they don't have too many rain delays throughout the day for this one, but there is a chance we see a few, unfortunately, just with the weather the way that it can be. Looks like the rain should be relatively far away just currently due to the sun. Now, Mark Wood. Oh, short ball attempted. Marnus Labuschagne. These two, Labuschagne and Smith, spending a lot of time at the crease together over their test careers today. I just checked current weather. Says Peter Andrew Nolan. Oh, sorry, says Peter. Where is my phone? It's in my pocket. I'm going to also look up the weather and see what time it is that it's supposed to start playing up. See if we can get it specifically for Old Trafford. Old Trafford, England. For me, it doesn't actually have much rain around. For Old Trafford, anyway. Partly cloudy conditions from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., with mostly sunny conditions expected at 3 p.m. But by the looks of it, Saturday's 100% chance of rain, Sunday is 90% chance of rain, and Friday's actually 50% chance of rain as well. So there could be a little bit of rain throughout this test match, mainly those last 2 days. David Warner will be disappointed to lose that wicket. The man was very happy in the crowd for that one, though. Smith facing Mark Wood, a little bit of an inside edge. Has managed to find a gap out a leg side towards square leg. Stuart Broadfields it. Gets it to just the one. Mark Wood, he has been a little bit more expensive than he would have liked to be in the early stages. Definitely because in the last test match, when he came in, the Australians just weren't able to score off him. Whereas in this innings, so far he's bowled 3.3 overs and gone for 20 runs. So he's actually bowled 21 balls for 20 runs. I'm shocked by the Aussies. If the expected player who was in form at the last test match gets out, then another player gets the form, manages to score a good total. And that is the big thing for this Australian side, and also why they've been so dangerous and near number one for so long, is because in that top order, it's not always one player who they rely on. Like you said, if Khawaja doesn't score runs, then Labuschagne does. If Labuschagne doesn't, then Steve Smith does. If Smith doesn't, then Warner will sometimes get himself some runs. And then even a little bit further, you've got Travis Head at number 5, who can very easily get himself towards that 100. He won't be playing. In fact, no, sorry, he will be playing at number 5 for this one. And then they've got Cam Green, Mitchell Marsh is 6 and 7, and then Alex Carey batting number 8, who can also score himself a fair few runs if he needs them. And for the Aussies, the fact that they've got Pat Cummins batting 10 tells you their batting lineup goes pretty deep at the moment for this test match. Nice duck there from Labuschagne to get underneath that one. 15.5 overs down. That last delivery was 94 miles an hour, so getting around that 150 kilometre mark now for Mark Wood. The fact that it was a bouncer right towards the helmet as well. Very good duck from Marnus Labuschagne. Picking up the length early and getting out of the way of it. Played to the leg side, very well controlled by Marnus Labuschagne. I believe that one would probably be, it's about 90 miles per hour for Mark Wood. But the end of the over, 68 for 2. One of the more economical overs for Mark Wood that he has had. Wokes looks like he's going to be continuing from the other end, sitting on 1 for 12 off the 4 overs. There's a few darker looking clouds in the background, unfortunately, at Old Trafford, but by the looks of it for now, we shouldn't have any rain for day one. Day two, I believe, is looking pretty decent as well. So fingers crossed anyway that we don't end up having too many stoppages taking place in the near future. We will go like that. And like that. There we go. I know that the coverage here in New Zealand was a little bit glitchy at the start, but now it seems like it has sorted itself out. It hasn't really glitched too much. Lasted a while. Chris Watts, oh, that was a tight leave for Marnus Labuschagne. That ball, if it had seamed back in rather than seaming away, it stayed relatively low. So I think that could have been a stump cleaner upper for Marnus Labuschagne there. Though he did have the pads, relatively straightforward. Warner gone, so we can make more TikTok videos. There's Samed in there as well. Probably does all right on TikTok, does he, David Warner? About his probably sixth form of income for the man. Wokes pitches up again. Shane, a little bit of an inside edge into his pad. A laughing face from Blues and 8 as well. Labuschagne moves to a 50 strike rate. Slowing down a little bit more in recent times, but it's always to be expected when the English line, it's coming a little bit more. There's a lot more straight deliveries, although we haven't seen Marnus go for the cover drive as of yet in this test match, I don't believe, or at least not a intentful cover drive. I feel like if Wokes over pitches it, that is something that Labuschagne will certainly consider. Another inside edge from Labuschagne, but this time it goes down towards fine leg. They will just take the one well fielded by Mark Wood. Always puts the body on the line, that man. They've got to be very careful with when they decide to bowl him. Because with Stokes being in the team, of course, it means that they do have him as a bowling option, but not really due to all of his injuries. That doesn't mean he won't bowl because he's Ben Stokes and he seems to just grit the teeth and just bowls no matter what if he needs to. But they've got Wokes, they've got Wood, and they've also got Broad, Anderson, and Moeen Ali or Joe Root. They do want to try out one of those two. They've got Harry Brooks, medium paces that we saw a little while ago in the Ashes series that a lot of people were confused about, but they didn't seem to go absolutely terribly. David Warner having a bit of a chat there with Alex Carey, two left-handers. I'm curious to know who England's next changeover will be, though, because they've bowled Wokes for a long time. This will be his fifth over now, and they've bowled Mark Wood for a long time. I believe he is almost working into his fifth over as well. So they might go with the straight swap back to Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad, although I would think that there'll be another bowler who's given a crack throughout that time. So I'm wondering whether or not England have got some sort of tactic going. Maybe they'll make Chris Wokes bowl another two or three more. He took that one right in the ball, says DPW. Yeah, which doesn't feel nice, unfortunately. I think he's saying there was a little bit of a wobble seam there. And do you think Anderson will come into bowl from the Anderson end? More than likely he will. He has had a little bit of a bowl earlier on in this test match, but they might decide to give him another crack at some stage soon. Yeah, I'm wondering whether it would be Moeen Ali as the next choice if it isn't Anderson or Wokes, sorry, Anderson or Broad, or whether they'll look at someone like a Joe Root, but that wouldn't really make sense. If you've got that orthodox spinner and that man who's been picked on your side as a spinner, I feel like we do need to see some sort of stuff in there. Did that make sense? Not really, but we do need to see some sort of spin bowling at some stage throughout this session, I think. But first of all, Jimmy Anderson going to get another crack. When do you think Moeen Ali will bowl? They might give him one or two before the end of the session, depending on the changeovers that they are going to be making. But Jimmy Anderson now back into the attack. We have got there. Hamish, any chances you and Timmy doing insights on Chile World Cup debut and Uruguay on the or the recap channel. I mean, I can put it forward to him, see if he is keen on talking about them. Of course, we have pretty limited knowledge in terms of what they do in terms of their rugby union, everything along those lines. I know a little bit more about Uruguay, but that is mainly because of the sevens rather than their 15s. A man from Chile or who lives in Chile actually visited me, was a subscriber of the channel and gave me a Chile kit a little while ago. Fun fact. So one of the only international kits that I own, other than the All Blacks, is actually Chile. Ooh, a bit of swing there for Jimmy Anderson. Steve Smith keen to get the single, but Mana says, no, we're good for now. Don't need it. Yeah, I would say they'll give Wokes one more from the other end, and then they'll give Anderson maybe another 3 or 4 from this end, and then they'll put Stuart Broad in. Also, Portugal, Namibia, Georgia plus Romania. Cheers, says Blues Nate there. So I guess what is it that you want to know about them, Blues Nate, in terms of like their squad or just their information about what they've done in the past, or what type of information are you looking for in that case? Well, I just seen Australia versus the Lions in 2025, 3 games. Says Kyle, yep, they're going to be taking them on, the British and Irish Lions. And the crazy thing is, that's only 2 years away, which is quite exciting because it wasn't that long ago. I thought, anyway, that the British and Irish Lions tour of South Africa happened, but time is just absolutely flying by at the moment. Run rate at the moment for Australia has dropped a little bit. It's down to 3.94 now, rather than the 4.5 that it was prior to that wicket of Warner falling. Labuschagne here has also slowed down just that little bit more. And top form players and captains from each teams. There's Nate. Okay, I can put it forward. I wouldn't know any of them at this stage, to be honest. We'd have to get Seb on for the for the Romania part, or at least he would know a few of the Romanian players a little bit better than myself. Anderson, 2 balls remaining of his over. Once again, blocked by Marnus. There are a lot less loose balls from England at the moment. They are getting their line a lot better. Time is going too fast, says Kyle. Well, the fact that the Rugby World Cup is pretty much here after I remember doing live streams and we'd be like, hey guys, it's only 950 days till the Rugby World Cup. So the fact that now it's like that 50 days remaining, in fact, it's less than that, and almost a month and a little tiny bit, they're going to be in France ready to go for that first contest. So, yeah, the fact that it's flying by, I mean, it's a good and a bad thing in a way, but yeah, the fact that we're already mid July is pretty impressive. Portugal has Ronaldo, he's pretty good. Pakistan, Babar Azam, says MHK, but that will be the end of the Anderson over. 69 for 2 at the moment for Australia. 27 minutes remaining in this session. I'm trying to decide in my head whether or not we are going to see another wicket taken by the English. And I guess that is a question for everyone. Be sure to let me know. Do you think there will be the wicket in this session with the last 27 minutes? If so, which batsman is going out? No stress, Hamish, by the way. Watch the video on Kiwi Lad. Solid innings, Hamish. Says Blues, Nate. And yeah, I think editing all those. The good news is when the Rugby World Cup is finished, cricket season is pretty much starting. So that means that like we've got a whole heap of excitement for the Rugby World Cup. And then as soon as that finishes, we go straight into cricket season in terms of actually playing, which is going to be pretty awesome. I remember when I came across your streams, 9K subs, now you're close to 30K. Says Kyle, yeah, the way that the channel has grown has just been unbelievable, really. And yeah, we've still got a lot of ideas that none of which we have done yet on the channel. So I feel like there's a lot still coming in the future in terms of outside of the streaming, but the streaming, of course, is our main thing on the channel, alongside letting you guys know who's playing in games and everything like that. A little bit of swing there for Stuart Broad. They decided to make the straight swap of him and Anderson both coming back at the same time, Makes me wonder whether or not they think that we're going to see. I guess that could close out the innings or the session. Sorry, that's a beautiful back foot punch from Steve Smith. Little bit too wide, and it is going to be 4 more runs. Bubba is king, says MHK. And yeah, and thoughts on the NPC this year, says Fallon. Of course, a lot of teams going to be missing quite a few players to that World Cup cycle, and with the fact that the games are taking place alongside the Rugby World Cup, may make them a little bit harder to follow. But should be interesting. I think last year they did that system, which was the kind of odd teams face the even teams, or they were on their own side of the draw, weren't they? Or was that something that they've now added? I think it was last year though that they switched it. Now that's going to be a single taken by Steve Smith. Moen Lally at square leg. The run rate currently sitting at 4. The run rate. Michael Atherton and Kumar Sangakkara, both very good. Which player you like, Bubba or Coley? I feel like they both have their own unique styles and are both very talented batsmen. So I feel like it just kind of depends on, for a lot of people, it depends on whether you're from India or whether you're from Pakistan, depends on which guy you like better. But they're both very talented with the bat in hand. Broaden out, work to the leg side by Marnus, quite fine, and that might just about race to the boundary. Yes, it does. Are you going to be busy? Amateur crickets in the Rugby World Cup streams, you got this? Says Blues, Nate. Yeah, I'm kind of glad in a way that I've got a cold now because, like, in terms of timing wise, we're South Africa versus New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, just a little bit before we got the cold. So if we had got that before those games, that would have been brutal. Staying up to all hours of the night, covering those games, and then also doing the filming the day after. But we made it work. Hopefully, this weekend the cold's pretty much cleared up by then, and we'll be all good to go. Whose cover drive you like? Once again, both have very strong cover drives, so I feel like it's very hard to pick just one out of those two because they both play it so well. Solid. Saw a nice cover drive from Steve Smith just before. Actually, the back foot cover drive shot that I love watching. I still remember though there was a West Indian player who played a back foot cover punch for 6. I feel like that was one of the most beautiful cover drive shots that I have seen. You got a Discord? I would love to have a chat with you. Pick your brain on all types of sports, says Kyle. We do have a Kiwi Lads Discord service somewhere. One moment. That is not the Discord link. That is just for anyone who wanted to see the GoPro cricket video. I got the link a little bit earlier on of us batting. If I go like this, and like this, and like that, like that, and like that, that is the link also to our Discord server, ladies and gentlemen. If you do enjoy a bit of Discord, I will mention I still don't know how Discord really works. I just click buttons and sometimes things go the way that they're supposed to. I'll get better, Kiwi Lads families. Cheers, Blues, Nate. And also, hello, sir. Australia to win this game, the Ashes series, and England win 2-2. England win 2-2. So wouldn't that mean that England were to win this one, or are you saying this one will be a draw? And then it will end up being 2-2, but they still retain. Good afternoon from Tuscany in Italy. Cheers, Harry and Luke. Hopefully you have a nice weather there. Steve Smith missed out in his 100th test. I had a feeling he has got his mind on a big score in this test. I struggled to read that, Peter, but yes. I think that for him personally, in any game where the openers don't quite perform, that seems to be where Steve Smith really steps up. The last few innings for him have been really weird how no matter how he gets dismissed, he disagrees with it. And I don't know whether or not he disagrees with it because of the shot that he plays or whether he disagrees with it because he feels like he has been. It's like the one where he got his edge. You know, he got the thick outside edge. It shows Snicko and it had the edge on there, and he was like, "No, I didn't hit that," even though it was clear as day that he did. So he's definitely feisty when it comes to the Ashes series. You bring your rugby challenge forward, GTA streams back, says Kyle. The biggest problem with those ones is I want to make sure that I have time to consistently do them. And lately, I haven't even really had free time to be able to do anything but YouTube. In terms of with the amount of stuff that we're working on, whether that is like preparation for upcoming streams or whether that is just, just videos in general, streaming throughout the week. So I want to make sure that if I was to bring any of them back, like I can do them more than a week and then have to stop them type thing. I think he is just angry with himself. When you edit, says Peter, although this was like after the like review and everything. Like he would go outside edge. He said, I didn't hit it, I didn't hit it, review it. And then they show that he's hit it and he goes, and then walks off the field. So, they're talking about Steve Smith actually went to watch a little bit of Wimbledon. A few of the Aussie players did as well. Current run rate 4.1. Anderson, anyone who knows a bit of tennis, Anderson needs an ace here. He can get that against Steve Smith, right through him and bowl his stumps over. That would be a massive momentum shifter for the English just before the end of the first session. Imagine if they have Snicko, and then the Seago comes through and goes, right when the ball goes past the bat. So then there's a big controversy. I mean, it could happen, I guess, theoretically, but like, yeah, I think it's the crazy thing for me is I always wonder how it tells the difference between like the edge and like a foot making a noise. But I know that the technology, it's like there's something to do with the frequencies or something like that. That means that they don't get the same sound waves picked up, something like that. How costly would not catching Smith be, says Liam. It could be costly. Well, at the moment, Smith's sitting on 12 off 15. A straight delivery again from Anderson. Closed out his final. All of the over. 20 overs down 81 for 2 now. Australians. Steve Smith and Marnus. Trying to work out the partnership that they're going to end up with because the thing is, if they get one of these guys out early and then somehow get the other out pretty much straight after, they will be very happy with that. But if they're unable to do that, these two have the potential of putting on a 100-plus run partnership between them. Leading wicket takers at the moment in test matches. Stuart Broad is in the top 5 trying to catch up with Anil Kumble, sitting in 4th. 4 runs for Steve Smith. Whipping it off his pads. Would have been plum LBW if he had missed it, but it's not too often that you see Steve miss those straight ones. RTS is going back to the wires. Wonder if he'll play for Auckland in the NPC. I don't think so. Mainly because I feel like if he is going back to league, he might spend a little bit more time training in the league side of things, getting the rhythm back, rather than playing a lot of union just before the new season starts, just because it might end up confusing his brain a little bit in terms of like there was a bit of an adjustment period between league and union. Now there'll be that little bit of an adjustment period between union and league. For him in 2 for 100 at lunch, it'll be an even result, says Peter. I feel like England would feel like with only 2 wickets down that they are possibly at a loss for that session, just because you get Steve Smith or Labuschagne out from here. It's definitely like 3 wickets for me is definitely in England's favour. Even 2 wickets, I would say, if Australia are scoring a decent amount of runs, they'd probably still consider themselves a decent enough session, maybe even a little bit in their favour. Once again, played nicely by Steve Smith. We're only at 20 overs at the moment, so we may only get through 25 or so before the end of the session. In fact, we may even only get through less than that, depending on how quickly they are able to take them over. Shane on 24 or 49, so still around that 50 strike rate. I should mention anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is hugely appreciated you guys all being here, and we have got plenty more coming up in the near future. Also, if you do like a little bit of cricket, be sure to check out this video here that I am putting a link to. It is our GoPro cricket video, the most recent one that has gone up on the channel. Of myself batting. It went all right. I guess there was still mistakes that were made, including that wicket. When you see that wicket, you'll be very disappointed in me how I went out, but always time to improve. So, the field for Marnus Labuschagne, deep fine leg, deep square leg, bit of a wider mid on. Then also the mid off is there. Everyone else behind the bat, the slips, the gully, and also the leg slip. The lead from Marnus. Delivery. Smith actually ticking over his runs quite nicely. The early stages of his innings, sitting on 17 off 18 deliveries. 15 minutes remaining. Are we going to see any spin throughout this first session, I wonder? Even if it's just one over of Moeen Ali near the end, they might consider just to test it out, see if it works. May England win the game? Says Genius Chemist there. I mean, if England win it, we go into that final match 2-2, which would be fantastic to see for the sake of this Ashes series. It might be a shortened test match, which actually I would say benefits Australia to a certain extent, because if it ends in a draw, even if the series overall is drawn, Australia will still retain that Ashes urn, which will be the goal. But of course, they want to win it rather than just drawing the series and winning it on the technicality. They will win if Australia lets them win, says TPW. But yeah, it does seem like day 4 and day 5 could be complete whitewashes. There's a chance we see a little bit of action on day 5 if we're very lucky, but yeah, day 4 does not look flash, unfortunately. Once at the pad of Steve Smith. I just went on to Instagram and seen Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is playing for Auckland in the NPC. So he must have to play till his contract runs out in December, says Fallon. That'll annoy him because I'm sure he would have loved to go back to the Warriors earlier than that. While they're in the playoff games and everything along those lines. But it's kind of good for the Warriors in a certain way because they don't have that decision of whether or not you play them later in the season. Day 4 is the worst day, says Liam. Yeah, day 4 is not looking too flash, unfortunately, weather-wise. I mean, the day after day 5, it's 90% chance of rain at the moment, but that could just be in the morning or the afternoon. We might get to see maybe a full session if we're extremely lucky on that day. But yeah, it just depends on how wet it gets from day 4 as well for the players. Three slips and the gully. Run rate of 4 for the Australians. So they are actually going at a pretty decent run rate compared to some that we have seen in the past. How is the Dragons going in the 2024 NRL ladder? I believe about middle, aren't they? In fact, we'll do it on the PC. It will be a little bit quicker. NRL table. Are the Dragons a bit lower, actually? They might be. Yeah, Dragons, sorry, 16th. At the moment, they are sitting out of the 17 sides. I was thinking of the Sea Eagles. 21.4 overs down. Steve Smith just saying there's a little bit of movement there. He's talking to himself, enjoying that delivery. Now with 12 minutes remaining in the session, a last-minute wicket here for England would be massive. No wicket taken. Might not quite be what the English want. Definitely with that decision of bowling first. I feel like that is another factor in terms of who takes out this first session. It's because England decided that they wanted to be bowling, they would have definitely wanted that 1 or 2 more wickets than they've already gotten. We got the scoreboard updating, although it was actually interesting to see that they haven't scored any runs in the past about 8 balls or so. I reckon Aussies got this. No wickets till 50 runs each. England should have batted first. Here's Blues, Nate. Yeah, it's one of those ones that, yes, they won their test match of the Ashes series from batting second, but, it's whether or not they're looking at it strategically for those later days of we want to be bowling, we want to be batting when it stops so that the ball gets soft or something like that. I assume is the only real reasoning behind it. But other than that, you want to be batting first on a surface like this, I would say. And to be fair, England, with how quickly they normally score runs, and if it is a good batting surface, perhaps they could have been on around that 100 runs or so at this stage. Similar to what Australia are on, to be fair, because Australia have been scoring relatively quickly in this innings. The last 10 minutes, Moeen Ali. Okay, this answers that question of when he is going to get himself a bowl. And I would say, with the amount of time left with 10 minutes, he might actually get himself another over after this one. Also, on the right arm spinner. 67 matches, 200 wickets for Moeen Ali, Labuschagne, and Smith look tight. They aren't really showing any weaknesses at the moment. I would say the only real one that England have looked to use in their favour is trying to get them to whip it to the leg side towards Ben Stokes. Australia need 340 runs this test host. Here's Ali's Adventure Vlogs. And then the test at Old Trafford for Moeen Ali. He's had 4 matches, 16 wickets. Let's see whether or not he can create one of those wickets just before the lunch break. Just said about there's a little bit of a breeze, so that it might not help the drift of Moeen Ali. Right. Is there going to be any spin? First ball from Moeen Ali. That didn't look like a lot at all. And Labuschagne able to whip it out to cover. Himself the single, I should say. Make it harder for England to win host. Here's Ali's Adventure Vlog. Talking about that balance of aggression and defence against Moeen Ali. We know that he can be a dangerous bowler when he gets it in the right spot. It's just whether or not with that wind, with that breeze, with maybe a lack of spin in the early stages of his bowling innings, whether he can create that chance. Smith on strike, sitting on 17 runs. Moeen Ali actually going over the wicket to him, but I believe round the wicket to Marnus Labuschagne. Slightly different tactics, depending on who the batsman is. That was a big yawn from yourself. It's almost midnight here in New Zealand. Cricketing session, it's flown by this first one. Ali again, pitching it up, pushing at that one a little bit. Marnus Labuschagne getting the foot to the ball, making sure that spin he's able to shut it down nice and early as that ball's bouncing. 3 balls gone for Ali, still going for just the 2 singles. Shot from Marnus, he whips that one, in fact slashes that one away towards deep cover. They've just taken the single for that one. Run rate still sitting around that 4 mark for the Australians. Steve Smith on strike now. With the 7 minutes remaining, I believe there would be enough time. Oh, Steve Smith advances down the wicket, smacks it hard. And that's probably about an 80 or 90 metre 6 down the ground from Steve Smith there, maybe even more, to be honest. That is the first 6 that we've seen of the day. What do you see Australia host getting this 4 Ashes test match total score? Hopefully, I think that Australia at the moment, the way that they're scoring, they're looking at 400 plus. And I mentioned it at the start. If they aren't able to stop Australia from scoring that 400 plus, that's another great drive from Steve Smith. This is probably going to be at least the 2 runs. Oh, just cut off by Crawley in the deep. Now managed to get back for the 3. So the first Moeen Ali over, going for 12 runs. And it is now 98 for 2. Smith got a double 100 at Old Trafford 2019, says Liam. Yeah, I said that if Australia are able to get themselves 400 plus runs in their first innings, due to the lack of time that we may end up seeing, or we get the rain on day 4 and the rain on day 5. With the lack of time, I think that Australia, if they manage to get themselves that 400 plus, it's going to be very hard for England to win the test from there. And more of the case of the draw is the more likely option on the board. Now, Steve Smith, he retains the strike, sitting on 27 off 27. Thanks so much for being conservative just before lunch. Yes, Smith deciding to be aggressive. Labuschagne, I'd say, was playing it a little bit more conservative, not willing to go for those big shots, but more just working singles. But Smith must have seen that Moeen Ali wasn't turning in a whole bunch, decided it was worth advancing and smacking it straight back over his head. Plus, I don't even know if England actually had a man deep there, so maybe it was a shot that didn't have a huge amount of risk involved in it for Steve Smith. 27 runs at the moment on the board for him, Anderson. 13 runs he's gone for off a 7.1 overs, so the most economical bowler for the English so far. 5 minutes remaining. Session number 1 as well, I should mention. So still a little bit of time. Steve Smith decides to leave that one, almost his old school lever. He swaps it towards the leg side. I think England need to be more attacking, to be honest. Says Rakiba there. And Old Trafford has been good. Has been a good batting wicket after first session on day 1. Smith has got his eye on a big score. I just have that feeling. Says Peter. And at the moment, he's hitting the ball well enough to be able to work towards that score. Because to be honest, he hasn't been out there that long and he's worked his way to 27, which I feel like is relatively impressive. Just because other than a couple, that 6 down the ground and also that back foot shot that he played out cover way, other than that, I feel like he hasn't really had too many risky shots in his arsenal. Probably the other one was just the first shot that he played when he did go for that big pull shot. But he's just playing strategic, working around the ground for the singles. Labuschagne doing the same at the other end. He's sitting on 26. The 50-run partnership is vastly approaching for these two. Oh, swinging. I think I just heard Steve Smith say, "Oh, that's a nice nut," to Jimmy Anderson. Of course, I should mention Australian term, "That's a nice nut" is in the ball. So that was a good ball rather than something else. A bit of shine still happening for the English. And that ball hoping to get it to swing just that little bit more. Jimmy Anderson, if anyone's going to be able to swing it in this English side, it is him. And he's already getting a little bit of it early on the first day. One over pitch from Anderson, well fielded there from Mark Wood being able to cut it off, and I believe that would have saved the 4 runs as Smith got that one relatively clean down the ground. Just a bit over pitch from Jimmy Anderson, although sometimes it does happen that way on the surface, mainly because you do have to try and get that ball just that little bit further up to create the chance of LBW or bowled. Steve Smith, I don't know whether it will be Anderson who bowls one, but a bouncer might be a good option in the next session early on. Although he's tried it slightly shorter, it's gone over the top. Or has it? Might have just gone wide of Chris Wokes, who looks frustrated, maybe just a little bit late reacting to it. It was the toe end of Steve Smith's bat. Wokes has almost got a little bit of a smile / a grimace on his face, which makes me think this was almost a half chance for the English there with the shorter delivery from Jimmy Anderson. Tried to cut it away. No. For Wokes, it was a little bit wide of him, probably about 3 or 4 meters to his side. A big dive still wouldn't have quite got there. Joe Root's face says it all. It was almost their chance to get Steve Smith out just before the end of the session. But Moeen Ali, 1 over remaining of this one now. Gone for 12 runs in his first over. So Labuschagne on strike. I don't think he'll be too concerned about big shots. Whereas if it's Steve Smith, he might consider trying to play that shot down the ground again. Marnus just getting middle marked for Moeen Ali, who once again continues round the wicket to him. Pitches it too short. Labuschagne with the back foot cover. Punch and that was an accidental just happened there? Matthew Hurst just misread that, yet somehow stopped it with his foot. I'm sure that that was a mistake in the field. Oh no, he got the hand to it. Fair play to him. He slipped just as he was going round and managed to cut it off. Now Marnus back on strike due to the 2 runs being taken. 104 for 2. So he's a wicket keeper. Oh, tell you what, it was almost an ankle breaker for him, unfortunately. The way that he slipped, almost a bit of a misfield there from Ben Stokes. They decided against trying to run the quick single, though. Bairstow just given Marnus Labuschagne a really solid steer after Marnus played that one. I feel like Bairstow, we normally see him as an angry fellow. They'll be more frustrated if England don't pick up these 2 very soon. There's Jack Whitehall and Farouk, I believe, as well. Next to him, they've said, if I'm not wrong. Who is Farouk? He's the keeper, but I can't think of his full name. Someone will be able to help me out. That one? Oh, a little bit more pitched up from Moeen Ali, almost the arm ball. Goes 90 Ks, kept low. Hey, mate, you have an early tip? Australia versus England. That's the way we roll because we've been set free, is the name. I said earlier on in the test match, I felt like if there was more than 400 runs scored by Australia, it's going to be very hard for England to win this test match. There's a chance that they draw it from there, but just the amount of runs that they'll be conceding early, that's going to be a great shot from Steve Smith. More runs down the ground. Crawley able to cut it off. And that will be the end of the session now. Australia move up to 107 runs for 2, scoring at a run rate of 4.28. So one of the more higher scoring sessions I think we've seen from the Australians in recent times. Only the 25 overs through as well. They did have a little bit of a delay with the steps that they were looking at down the ground. Are you surprised Warner got another chance? A little bit. I thought that, to be honest, I thought they'd keep a spinner in there just because it's been something that I've done so often for so long. I think I saw that it's been over a decade since they haven't had a frontline spinner in the Australian Test lineup. So the fact that they have gone with that could be considered as a bit of a risk, but they do still have Steve Smith, Marnus, and also Travis Head, who can do a little bit of part-time spin. So it does turn late. I guess they can still turn to them. But yeah, Warner was a bit of a surprise that he still kept that spot. Now he's got to try and make the most of it in that second innings. He got 32 in the first, so it wasn't too bad overall, I'd say, but needs a big total. Helps cement himself as one of those openers for the 5th test, or else then they might consider switching it around a little bit. Definitely because they've got Mitch Marsh and also Cameron Green both in there. Good call with the 2 all-rounders. Yeah, it was going to be impossible to drop Marsh after the way he played in the last innings, in the last test match as the injury replacement. So, yeah, he had to be in there somewhere, not just for his batting, but also his bowling wasn't too bad overall. So, yeah, have him in there, I was thinking. And it was whether or not they were going to go with Cam Green or whether they were looking to take Warner out, the extra batting option. But the fact that Pat Cummins is batting 10 is, I mean, it's evident that Australia have got a very strong batting lineup for this game. So England, they get 1 wicket, it's all well and good, but they need to get those next couple after that to really progress themselves through this innings. Or else they could be in for quite a long one. We might see Australia bat for 120 or so overs here if they aren't careful. Spinner not suited to Bazball says that's why we roll. And also Mitch Marsh and Green and Dangerous Day or Dangerous Doe for Australia. Says Ali. They are just saying there is the 40-minute break now, ladies and gentlemen. When's your cricket training starts? Hamish says, Nate, I believe the cricket season starts at about late October or somewhere around there. So it's still a little way away. But training-wise for myself, I think it's going to be starting a bit sooner, mainly because I want to be a little bit fitter than I was last season so that I can run between the wickets without puffing extremely loudly. But, yeah, it's all about, I guess, slowly trying to build up that fitness without either injuring myself before the season or going hard out and then just doing more damage than anything. Like how at the moment for my finger, I'm still trying to work out how I'm going to fix the finger from last year. That is now, I don't know whether you guys can see it, not really, but this finger, pretty sure I broke it. It's a bit wonky and it still hurts. Like I tried something the other day. I was just holding a ball, and you know how when you're a spinner, you just hold it and you kind of flick it from one hand to the other. And I was catching it there, and every time that it landed on that finger, it was just like a sharp shooting pain. So I got myself, I don't know if it's going to work, but I got one of these things, be able to squeeze it a bit, and hopefully that will help fix the finger. I feel like I should have got an X-rayed at the time, but I kind of just went with, it's a bit painful, but she'll be right, which is probably a mistake. I can't wait to get that 100 runs for the Kiwi lad, says Nate. Yeah, we didn't get 100 in the last season. First 50, though, so we're making progress, I guess. 33 valuable runs for Australia. Warner says that's the way we roll. And also, oh, damn, Hamish broken finger, says Blues Nate. And then I catch you later, Hamish. Get well soon, says Peter. Yeah, hopefully the cold disappears by the weekend. But that was actually, we were going to be going to the cricket nets probably either tomorrow or the next day originally, myself and Dad, to use the bowling machine. But now that I've got a cold, I don't think I should be going. And middle fingers still work. That is true. They are still available. But yeah, it's just getting that finger so that I'm worried I'm going to drop another catch. I'll be honest. I feel like that's the main worry. Like I'm not so worried about if it hurts while I'm batting. Worst comes to worst, just grip the teeth and go. But if I drop a catch because it just bounces off that finger or anything like that, I'm going to be annoyed. I dropped enough catches last year. You guys will get to see that in the future few videos. There were a few catches that we did unfortunately end up dropping. My best catch, in fact, my two best catches of the season didn't get recorded, which sucks because one of them was like a tough chance to the side that I managed to snatch. And then the other one was off my own bowling, and it was I like did a big jump above me and took the catch one handed, but no one was recording for that one, which is a bit of a shame. Do you think it's a good start for Australia? I think so. Yes, they'll be disappointed to have lost Kawaja early and losing Warner in the 30s, but still 107 runs on the board at this stage of the test match. They'll be more than happy with that one. And then also the fact that, they've been able to score at a decent like run rate throughout this one, 4.3 or so. We're a GoPro for the game. There's Hanoi. I mean, you can while batting, but I don't think you can really while fielding, unfortunately. Just definitely if it's a chest mount, because then you could theoretically use it to your advantage of trying to help control it a little bit more. But every once in a while, we'll stick it on the umpire, mainly because it's either an umpire from our team or the other team who are willing to wear it. So, we'll normally have it on some way anyway throughout the game. But the fielding innings of that next game is going to be an interesting one. While you take a break for lunch, says Siddhartha, I believe that this may be the final session that we do end up covering of the day, which is why I'm still chatting now, because it might end up coming to an end in the next kind of 10 or 15 minutes for the stream, mainly because, I have got a cold, and the last thing I want to do is end up getting a sore throat from doing a whole heap of talking, which I probably have already done, but hopefully the cold comes right and we'll be able to do a lot more sessions in the near future. And can't believe Pat Cummins has lost 4 tosses already. Yeah, it's impressive, isn't it? The fact that he's managed to lose the toss every single time throughout this Ashes series, although the Aussies, they don't seem to be minding it too much. This was going to be a hard toss to choose whether they wanted to bat or bowl first. So I think they'll be happy enough. And also, let's go, says Blues Nate, and England need to step their game up, says Rakiba. Yeah, they need those early wickets in this next session. If they can manage to take out Marnus, Labuschagne or Steve Smith early, get that early wicket, and then pick up either Travis Head or the other batsman who's set, be massively beneficial for them as well. It's 7:09 a.m. Wednesday morning here in the States. Just waking up, explain that nut thing again. I know what it means in the USA, but I hear you clearly about Australia, mate. Says Curse. So pretty yeah, like great nut does not mean the same thing as it means in the USA. Well, it can in some regards, but not all the time. And cricket-wise, great nut means good ball, well bowled type thing. Like, oh, that was a great nut, you know? But it can sound dirty because like you said, it means something else over there. But yeah, great nut means good ball, well bowled, great ball, that kind of thing. You know, it's just Aussie things, I guess. And why do you think England chose the field? I think that, to be honest, it might have been something to do with the later weather conditions. They wanted to try and maybe manage the game by not ending up like allowing the game to slow down too much, or just they wanted to play with a softer ball later on in their second innings bats. But yeah, it seems like a decision that could have been maybe the other way around would have been a better choice, which is having the bat first. Like I said, England could have found themselves maybe 120, 130 runs in that first session if they had batted first. Awkward, says Blues Nate. Yeah, but it's Aussie for you, isn't it? No. Yeah, good fun. Great nut. Not a term that I would normally use in my cricketing vocabulary. I normally say well bowled instead. That's my way of doing it. And just showing that replay of Usman Khawaja's wicket. He did get LBW by Stuart Broad. Then we did see the other wicket taken by Chris Wokes, and that was David Warner dismissed, caught by Johnny Bairstow, which is a saying or a sentence that hasn't been said as much throughout this Ashes series as it should have been due to the amount of times that he has dropped catches. But this one he was able to take, and that was the second wicket for the English. They're just talking about a little bit of yeah, they were talking about the delay that they had with the strip. Steve Smith and Labuschagne are looking solid out there. Who needs to break this partnership? Yep. And bowling Shane says Hanoi. Mm. It just reminded me of the leg spinners you guys are going to see in the next video. And I have to say, uh, this was near the start of the season, I should mention, though. I got slightly better, but not by much, which is also why I think my bowling training will have to come in relatively soon. Just because I'd love to be able to put six balls on the pitch each over, or at least on the rough near the batsman, rather than bowling wides. I don't think I've bowled a single over so far throughout this year without a wide in it from the past season, which is impressive in some regards, but also not very impressive in a lot of other ways. Need Marnus and Smith to stick around for another 50 overs. Tell you what, if they're scoring at the rate they are here, another 50 overs is another 200 or so runs for the Australians. So if they were able to bat till the end of the day, Australia could have themselves 450, 400 on the board at the end, although I believe they will slow down at some stage. So maybe that 400 or so mark could be a realistic approach for the Australians. Just talking about Mark Wood. They're saying he had half a chance of taking that catch, but wasn't able to, unfortunately. And sitting on 33 or 34 balls now, I can't see the team list. I did bowl and make the cut. He did end up missing out. And the reason he missed out is because Josh Hazelwood came back in. So the only real changes that they've got is Todd Murphy is dropped, and that is because Cam Green comes back into their side, and then Hazelwood and Boland's the straight swap that they've made. Yeah, for the English, it's just Robinson out, Anderson in. That's the only change that they've made. And Moeen Ali once again finds himself batting at number 3 in this test match. For the English, hello everyone, says Aronius. Welcome in, mate. Been keeping well. Only after the 25 overs, 107 for 2. The English. And the 2 early wickets of Warner and Khawaja, but it's just not quite enough as of yet. We do need a few more to be in a good position. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are getting pretty close to the end of this live stream, mainly because we are just covering session number 1 for today. Hopefully, after a good night's sleep, I will almost have this cold completely gone. And yeah, hopefully we get a few more sessions. And also over the weekend, of course, we have got a few videos coming out with the lineups and everything tomorrow. But then the two matches with Fiji taking on Tonga, Samoa taking on Japan in the rugby, and then also whichever parts of the final days of the cricket we can see, we will be covering on the channel as well. Okay, Hayes should be primed for a good one. Says Hanoi and no more wickets for the day. Says Aronius, and I love 100 for Marnus there as well. And Janlu Brander said, if you guys want to watch, going to do session 2, says Janlu. And Thursday rugby season, not quite. Thursday rugby lineup announcements. And then Saturday rugby for that one. So yeah, it's a little bit longer, but yeah, those games will be on Saturday, and they will be some very good games to watch. I'm even considering, depending on what time, I think one of the games is at 12 and the other is at 10. So I may even be able to go and watch the local final, which will be quite cool to see, seeing as the local team have made it quite far in the local competition. Manus says, you've been poor. Says that's the way we roll in there as well. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning into this live stream. Like I mentioned, we will be back tomorrow night at 10 p.m. New Zealand time for session number 1 and maybe even summer session number 2 as well. There as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you do like a little bit of GoPro cricket, be sure to check out that link that I have just put in the chat. That is for the most recent GoPro cricket video that we have done on the channel where I was batting. And then also you get to see a little bit more of our team batting along the way as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, maybe a night, depending on whereabouts you are in the world. Make yourself a toddy, Manukura honey or Manuka honey and stiff whiskey of your choice, says Kerman in there as well. And surprising, Djokovic lost. Says that's the way we roll. Yeah, there's been a few upsets in the Open so far, haven't there? But keeps it entertaining, keeps it so that you're on the edge of your seat while watching, which is exactly how I feel this test match may finish due to the lack of time that we may see throughout the 5 days due to rain. End up being a fantastic finish. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, like I mentioned, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the GoPro video, and I will see you all for the next one.